Yeah, something.
People need it right now.
Yeah. All right, let me see. Let me open this chat box. But I think we are good to go. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. We are day 5 of the entertainment lockdown series. Today we are here to talk with some managers, some A&R, just to talk about what overall management is doing to kind of combat this lockdown, and this lockdown specifically of live events, things like that. So like I said, managers, how they're handling this. And here's my 4 guests. Let me introduce them real fast. Then we'll kind of dive into some questions and just kind of take the conversation from there. Does that sound cool?
Sure.
Perfect.
Sounds great to me.
All right. All right. So first I've got Sam. Is it Saideman?
Saideman. No one gets it right. Don't beat yourself up.
No worries. He is the co-founder and CEO of Innovo Management, LLC. He has experience ranging from performance, booking, publishing, marketing, and for a global distribution company. Sam has a wealth of experience that he leverages in his daily management strategies. And he's based out of Nashville, I believe, right?
Correct.
So thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I've got Vanessa Silberman, is an international touring singer, guitarist, and songwriter from Brooklyn. Are you still in Brooklyn right now?
Yeah, I am from LA. I was there for like about 18 years and then just moved to New York the last year.
Gotcha. She is also a record producer, engineer, and independent A&R that she runs from her own artist development company called A Diamond Heart Production. Thank you, Vanessa. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I've got Randy Nichols. He's guided artists to multiple gold records and Grammy nominations, overseen record releases on and sold out tours on 6 continents. He is either...
Oh, you don't have to read all that.
Oh, I'm going to. Oh, I'm definitely going to. He's either managed or has managed. I've got a giant list. I'm going to pick out a couple that I specifically know. Underoath, The Starting Line, Say Anything, Aaron Gillespie, The Almost. So lots of touring acts here that he's overseeing. So thanks, Randy, for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, and I've got Rick Barker. He helps people navigate the new music business. He is the host of the MIB, which is the Music Industry Blueprint podcast, and is the former manager of Taylor Swift. He connects with his audience often through live streams that I often pop into. He's great about that fan connection that we'll kind of talk about here. But thank you for being here, Rick.
My pleasure.
All right. All right, and those that do not know me, my name is Evan Price, AC Evan. I am the host for today's chat. I'm the founder of Artist Collective and also an artist manager. So I just kind of want to go around between you 4 specifically. I'm going to start with Rick because I know you may have to pop off here, and just kind of give people a bird's eye view of what you're dealing with, what your day-to-day is, and where you're located.
Sure.
So Rick, yeah, go ahead.
Like Sam, I'm in Nashville. We went from tornado to pandemic. It kind of shut the industry down here. Basically, a lot of the labels, everyone's working remote. The touring industry has pretty much, as we all know, shut down right now. So I don't do as much day-to-day management at all like I did in the past. I kind of shifted my model in October. I now help hundreds of artists all over the world. Basically on strategy, goal setting, big picture, accountability, door opening, and things like that. My day-to-day right now is therapist. My day-to-day right now is comforter. My day-to-day is educator. I look at this, and it may sound morbid, but I think this is going to be a good thing for the industry. And the reason that I think that is that artists are now having to do what they should have been doing all along, but didn't have the time for, which is connecting and engaging with their fans. The more connection that they make right now, the more people that are going to show up for their shows, the more people that can't wait to see them. It's like when I'm watching John Lennon and Luke Bryan and Elton John doing a daggum house concert now, on iHeartRadio. These are things that wouldn't have happened, I don't think, unless something like this happened where the world was kind of forced to shut down. So it hasn't impacted my business much at all. Actually, it's made it better because of what it is that I teach. I took my business online 4 years ago. So right now I've just been able to spend more time. I kind of tell people it's like, as creators, which all of us are because we put content out into the world, my podcast, my YouTube videos, my Instagram lives, those are like my singles. And then I lead them to my albums, which are my courses. And that's what I think artists can be doing right now, is it's like they're getting to know you, because we're in a business right now where the consumer doesn't have to pay to consume your product. And that sucks. If you're a business, knowing that everything that you put out can be consumed for free, what is it that the artist is ultimately, or the audience is going to ultimately invest in, is the relationship. And I think right now is the best time to be building those relationships.
Cool. What do you think your day-to-day would look like right now if you were doing that normal day-to-day management that you said you did in the past?
Well, right now there would not be a lot of day-to-day management. It would be all therapy, because my artists would be freaking out because their income streams have come to a complete stop. Because in the industry, there's a difference between the music business and the music industry. The industry right now relies on touring. They rely on that physical contact. There's not enough money being generated unless you're one of those rappers that have a huge Spotify channel right now. The income comes from touring. It comes from selling merch. It comes from being out on the road for a lot of the artists that are signed to major labels right now. So if it was before, it would just be the same thing. I mean, it would just be, the world's not coming to an end. Here's what, everything I'm teaching artists to do today is what I would be teaching those artists to do if I was just doing day-to-day management. Take this time to better your craft, take this time to build those relationships, take this time to show up every day to get to know these folks, and start looking at your insights to see where these pockets of people are that you're engaging with right now. And then start, once this thing gets lifted, start trying to set up tours in those areas.
Gotcha. Cool. Good advice. Sam, you want to give us a better picture of what you've been dealing with?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sam Saideman. Kind of lived an interesting life as far as where I'm located. I was born in London, England, moved to New York when I was a kid, and got immersed into hip hop music and the music industry as a whole. Eventually moved down south to Atlanta, and then I've been in Nashville, coming on 6 years now. I love Nashville, but like Rick said, we got hit with that tornado, 2 tornadoes, and then a week later, coronavirus. So the music industry here is really suffering. Not that it's not suffering everywhere, but we've been hit kind of dual-windedly, if you will. My day-to-day right now is a lot different than it typically is, in that a lot of it right now is focused on mailbox money, a lot of supplemental sources of income for artists, and also dealing with a ton of canceled or postponed concerts. I think we're at like 50 or so canceled or postponed concerts across our roster. So, it hit us pretty hard. But I think, like Rick said, not to be too morbid, but I think now more than ever is when artists need to start realizing that focusing on other forms of income, I like to call them mailbox income, is vital to a career. Some of my clients are lucky enough to be those big rappers that Rick talked about, who make a large part of their income off streaming. Jonas, like, we tour quite a bit and he makes a good amount of touring, but a large part of his income is off streaming. And so people like that are lucky in this case that they've built that. But now more than ever, it should show artists that they need to build that more and need to focus on building sustainable sources outside of just touring. Obviously, album sales aren't what they used to be, but you can still earn quite a bit of money off sync and streaming, and utilizing your social media platforms to build and drive back to those platforms, and then leverage those sizes to do brand endorsements and all kinds of things. I think that it's just forcing us right now to be more creative than we ever have, and pressuring artists to step into that world more. So that's kind of what we're up to.
Right. Would you say that you're also playing therapist for a lot of your clients?
I play therapist year round. Nothing new there. But yeah, I think more so than ever, artists are gravitating to us as industry professionals for advice on what to do. Like I have an amazing blues artist who's thinking about offering guitar lessons via streaming, right? Like, that's not a part of his brand. That's not something we want to be linked to his music brand, but it's tied into being a musician and earning revenue right now. But that's what people are having to resort to in some situations. And but yeah, I mean, I'm always a therapist, like any manager, like any industry professional.
Absolutely. Cool. Vanessa, how about you?
So I'm currently located in Brooklyn, New York. I'm in Bushwick. And what does my day-to-day look like? Well, just to give you some insight, prior to this, I spent about 3.5, 4 years on the road, DIY, touring, but also recording bands and releasing records through my label. In between that, played over 800 shows in that period. So I have that perspective of what it's like to be an artist and just to be relying on income from touring. But what I spent doing, and I really agree with some of your guys' comments, is that I had spent actually a big portion of my time, with just the developing artists, telling them to look at stuff completely different, like their brands. And I kind of feel like that's, where we're at right now as a society. And, part of being a DIY artist is really helping yourself and utilizing and learning skills and taking the initiative to create, these brands and ideas and concepts before they get to the place of having these bigger managers or bigger labels in place. So, my day-to-day, as far as what I was doing before and now, I'd actually spent the last year kind of rethinking the way I was touring, but maybe moving it more to digital releases, and then, working on records in between, more at home. And I had actually pre-planned my whole year kind of ahead. And, when I wasn't on tour and when I haven't been on tour, I work with bands and artists, producing, mixing, mastering, and then helping set up releases. The things that have changed is, well, I haven't seen any friends or people for about 2 weeks. And I'm still quite busy. I've had to cancel 2 tours and multiple sessions because of not being able to be in person. But I'm still so busy and helping artists in between, my stuff that I make money doing and get paid for. I've extended out to other artists offering, free mastering or like help just to talk to people, because there's a lot of artists and bands in need right now. And, trying to figure out how to navigate everything also for the artists and bands who, let's say, were afraid to adapt to being online and promoting and posting. Well, they're not really given a choice right now. They're going to have to adapt to this new way if they want to connect to people. But on the positive note, I think this is absolutely opening up a lot of creativity. And I think that part of being an artist or an artist facilitator now, I want to encourage a lot of other people who are in this position to rise up and get creative and help connect with people now, because people need music more than ever. This is going to help us get through everything.
I'm sensing a theme here. I feel like I should just rename this artist therapist session. No, it is very, very true. A lot of it is just encouragement and steering them in the right direction and having them pivot. So that's great.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just yesterday I was having a phone call with someone giving them ideas of how to newly think pitching, like premiering, a music video or release plan and stuff like that. So I think this is allowing creative opportunities for people to look at stuff differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, last but not least.
Hey. So, answering your questions, I'm in Long Beach, New York, which is about a half hour outside New York City. And let me see, what were your other questions you were asking here? Oh yeah, what does my day-to-day look like? So right now, my day-to-day is kind of weird. Like, I don't know, I think I'm going to give a polar opposite difference to everyone else. Because normally I'm the therapist talking down my artists from scenarios, and problems that aren't actually problems. Like, I feel like so often artists fear the unknown. We're suddenly so far down into the unknown that they just have kind of accepted it and are kind of talking to me less, which is interesting. Right now while we're talking, I have, like, on the side of my screen, I'm talking to one of my artists who's just like, so when do you think touring will start up again? Do you think our, August tour will happen? And other than that, it's not even talking down. Or, like, this is an artist which is usually freaking out all the time. And it's just so like, all right, we're fucked. What are we going to do? It is what it is. And now I'm talking to artists about what can they do? And all these streaming things that people are talking about is great, and in theory it's good to increase engagement, but what is it really doing for people who are broke, who typically are making money on the road now? And it's hard, because for a lot of these artists, like, you look at the Dropkick Murphys webcast that they did this past on St. Patrick's Day, they ended up having got over 1 million impressions, I think 150,000 simultaneous viewers from it. And from what I understand from listening to an interview with their manager, they didn't make anything from it. But they did get a sponsor that was able to pay for all their crew and the space and allow the event to happen. So it's difficult, because doing these things are helpful to keep your profile up, but it doesn't put food on the table. So some of my artists, like my artist Underoath, for instance, one of the guys in the band owns a coffee shop, which is also getting hit right now by this. But the coffee shop, there's more he can do to focus on, coming up with new takeout programs, coming out with new ways to do direct to consumer there, is going to see more revenue than from the band directly. So I've been finding that I'm talking to some of my artists just about how they're making money elsewhere from making music. And then I have other guys who are literally selling off possessions from various points of their career. The singer of Underoath just sold off a plaque that he had for one of their records yesterday through his Instagram, and he had a leather jacket that he wore on stage through the whole album cycle of their album Define the Great Line, and he sold that on Instagram. And I have another guy who's selling handwritten song lyrics, which it's just, you make a request and he'll hand write out the lyrics to whatever song you want. So those things, they help, and the streams are awesome. The same guys who are doing the handwritten stuff are doing acoustic sessions online too, but it's almost like those acoustic sessions are helping to drive the sales of the products. But any engagement is good engagement too. But I mean, we're honestly just sitting here freaking out how we're going to pay our bills, what we're going to do. So a lot of our conversations are also what's going to happen in this bill that Congress is voting on today, and how we can file potentially for unemployment, what small business loans may be accessible, what we can do to help our crew. And, beyond that is, when the hell can we go back to work?
Did you answer your client on when you thought that touring would start again?
And this is the other thing that I've been doing that I'm spending a lot of time with, and I answered, but I didn't answer. I just wanted to give the big picture answer to this because it makes sense. As I've been spending a lot of time just studying on coronavirus.app and looking at the growth of the virus in every country and where the bell curve is at in each country, and trying to figure out what's happening in other places to see when we should peak here. And then from there, I've been also reading up how the concert business is facing things in Asia, and reading interviews with some of the concert promoters in Asia. They think they're a minimum of a month away for concerts happening in China again, and as far as 3 months away. So in answer to that question to my artists, I'm hopeful that our June tours will happen, but I look at the facts of what's going on in China, and if they're 3 months away now, we could easily be 5 months away from before they're going to allow large groups of people to get together again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because when you're looking at touring, you have to kind of be on that research mode and look at what else is happening outside of your hometown. A lot of independent artists that aren't touring are just kind of focused on their town right here. But when you're trying to reignite your tours, what was the app that you said you used?
It's coronavirus.app.
Okay, cool.
It's got some of the better data I've seen out there. But oh God, what the hell was I just gonna say? As I'm sure everyone, my head is in a million places. Oh, this is what I was gonna say though. Is one of the scary things is if you look at this big picture, the concert business was really the first events that were canceled. There were a couple of other major events like F8 for Facebook and Microsoft events, but events as a whole were the very first thing that were canceled. They're going to be the final thing that comes back. You're going to see retail stores open and offices open well before concerts come back because they're the riskiest when you're dealing with a pandemic. So we're getting hit the worst and for the longest.
Absolutely.
So sorry to not be as uplifting, but these are the kind of realities I'm facing. And, I'm just looking at how the hell do I pay my bills? And one of the things that I've been doing is looking at stocks that have been hit really bad. I bought Live Nation stock when it crashed last week, and thankfully it went up and I made a couple of $1,000. And I'm like, all right, I have a mortgage, and I sold it right away too. And I'm like, all right, I have a mortgage payment. And that's how I'm looking at things right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair. I'd like to direct this one towards Rick. A lot of this week we are kind of been focused on independent artists, but I kind of want to get your take on what major label artists are doing right now. Like we said, tours are being canceled. That's a lot of their income. How are they redirecting their focus, do you think?
Well, I think right now, when you're watching Garth Brooks go live and you're watching, in the countryside, Luke Bryan go live, and you're looking at these artists, and what Randy said was very important, because as some of these major artists, their tours take place in these arenas where these sporting events have also been canceled. And I'm sure that they're going to be more apt to trying to get hockey back going and basketball back going. And these are a lot of the arenas that they share with these recording artists. So the whole venue industry is having to shift right now, because if they're going to remove, dates for hockey event and then the next night they have a basketball event, well, where's that concert event that was supposed to be scheduled in there? Are they more concerned with their regular season of their sporting events, which is guaranteed income to them, versus trying to reschedule all these artists? And then can they route it? There's so much chaos that's going on there right now. It's like, I have friends of mine, Louis Messina at AEG and all these places right now. It's like they're just sitting there because they're going to be the last ones, like Randy said, that are going to get notified going, okay, here's the 8 dates that we have available, but we had 20 concerts that we had to cancel. Who's going to get those 8 dates? So not everything is going to be changed right now. So major label artists, I think right now, they're responding in fear. They're sitting there wondering how to keep their bands paid, their crews paid, and all this stuff. So yeah, that's how they're responding. They're responding, I think, right now by just trying to stay as positive as they can, trying to stay in as much contact with their fan base as they can, knowing that they may be having to push merch items online before they can sell another ticket to a show. They may need to find that way to get that $15, $20, $25 from someone versus waiting for that $100 ticket that may not come for a while.
Yeah, the other fear also is you look at fall touring, you have all the tours that are already confirmed to tour in the fall, and then all the late spring and summer tours that are now going to try to squeeze into the fall. So we're going to have all these shows up competing with each other at a time where the economy just got hit and 3 million people filed for unemployment this week. How many of them are going to be able to afford to buy more concert tickets?
Right.
Yeah, and jumping off of that, I also think independent artists are going to struggle to get their tours rescheduled because all of these major agency artists are putting holds in 3 venues in every market through the fall right now. And so then what ends up happening is I try to reschedule an independent artist tour. I bring it to a venue and they've got, whomever booked through 3 dates across Thursday through Saturday, and I can't get any dates rescheduled. So I think it's also making it extremely challenging for independent artists on the touring side.
Do you think, because I've seen a lot of these artists do, I saw Sway Lee did a cool interactive live stream. Do you think that those, I mean, like Randy said, like, yeah, it's getting their engagement, it's getting people's attention, but it's definitely not replacing their income from touring. So how are they kind of combating that? How are they able, like you said, merch and things like that, but they're just kind of sitting there waiting for something to happen and trying to keep people's attention for the long run?
There's no way to combat it right now.
Yeah.
The options have been limited. You know, the suck part for independent artists is the venues that they bartended in, or the Starbucks that they were baristas in, or the restaurants, you know, all those places that was their other income source has also been taken from them. You know, those that, like Vanessa was saying, those that ran studios, you can't get people into your studios right now. Those that, you know, there's just so many different things happened at once. And it was, I don't want to say the perfect storm, but it was the perfect storm where it just came and it says, okay, we're wiping out this, we're wiping out this, we're wiping out this. Now, a lot of artists are having to get creative. Like Randy was just talking about, having to sell things. Just how many guitars do you actually need? But then trying to find a buyer for that guitar on the other end who's holding on to their money because they don't know where to get it from. So it's not good, but it is what it is, you know? So instead of everyone just the woe is me concept of things, right now is a great time to budget. Right now is a great time to cancel credit cards so that you can see what monthly expense was coming out every month that you really don't need to be spending on. You know, every so often, one of my credit guys will tell me, says every so often, just cancel a card, say that it was lost, so that all those things that used to get taken out every month, that can add up to a couple $100 every month of little things that we didn't miss, the $25 here or the $30 here or the $15 here. All those add up after a while. So I think Dave Ramsey's probably doing pretty well right now. Everyone's trying to figure out how to budget and how to take care of what it is that they have. And they're becoming resourceful. They really are. And that's going to be a great tool to have moving forward, is the resourcefulness that they're having to learn right now.
Do you think that once the dust kind of settles and touring's back on, do you think the importance of this one-on-one fan engagement is going to kind of stick with these major label artists? Maybe they might continue doing live streams.
It should, but they're going to get busy again. And just like with people who get fat, we start with our trainer for a while and then life happens and we stop going to the trainer and we get fat again. So, I mean, it's just the mindset's going to stick for the right artist. Just like the difference between a superstar and a great artist is usually their business sense. It's like there's a lot of better singers and a lot of better performers, but the ones that we hear about, they know their business, they understand their business. And I think that's what it's forcing major label artists to look at right now and go, wow, you know, I had that silver spoon in my mouth and everything was being taken care of for me. And now all of a sudden I'm having to take care of myself. You know, that's where the labels are going to come in and say, okay, who got their tours back? Those are the songs we're going to release. So there are certain artists at major labels that had songs in the system that may not be where they used to be because they're going to have to support those tours, because most deals right now are 360 deals. And they're going to focus their attention on where the label is going to end up making the most money. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but this year is going, the strong will survive. That's all I really can say on that. I think the strong will survive.
Absolutely. Vanessa, I know it says clients here, but I'm curious, what kind of things have you personally been putting your time towards?
First off, I just want to tell everyone to invest stocks in Zoom.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
You know what? To be honest with you, I'm a very big promoter of positivity and keeping, you know, a lot of like good energy and focus and attention on stuff that's conducive to creativity. And I think that everything really needs to be rethought. I honestly have been telling people to not plan tours until this thing is over. Don't waste energy because this is so unknown, and instead put your energy into creating, if you're an artist, songs, because that's where we start from the core anyway. There's so much things and feelings that people are going through right now that I feel like now is the perfect time for a songwriter or an artist to spend their time, including myself, and also telling other artists to do this, but you know, put it into your songs. Also learn skills. If you don't know much about recording, you know, I am lucky because I am an engineer and I am a producer and a mixer already, but for the artists who aren't, you know, talking to them, you know, encouraging people to go watch tutorials, or you know, I feel like artists and bands should put their focus on, you know, yes, maybe doing these live streaming things. Of course, you know, everybody who's engaging in them also is, you know, in a unsure position of investing in stuff. I got like a notice from, I think it was like Stripe, which is the credit card company for Bandcamp, that there has been like ample amounts of refunds. So for a lot of people who are buying stuff, they're also like worried about spending money right now. So I wouldn't worry so much about the focus of like getting money from people, but more investing in your music, if you're an artist, as your craft and connecting with your audience. I mean, for me, like workarounds on the other spectrum, you know, say I had an artist who was supposed to come in and record. Well, instead I'm, you know, able, if an artist is able to record themselves, I'm able to mix from here and master from here, or walk people through things. I'm still able to put out releases. So that's one thing that artists and bands can still do. You guys can sit here and still, you know, plan out releases or plan out creative ways of keeping things going. But I think it's like we kind of need to look even beyond that and just think completely outside of the box and start fresh. But I think this is totally a time to put your focus on creativity and educating yourself, really, because the more skills that you know already, you know, even before this, you know, coronavirus stuff. I mean, I always talk to so many people, even when I did like public speaking events and stuff like that. You know, I have this DIY artist workshop. It's about educating yourself and being more than just an artist, or more than just a recording person, more than just a label person. We are all brands, even if we're a clothing company. It's like, that's the age that we're in. So, I mean, I think the focus in terms of where I'm at, I like I mentioned before, I'm still busy. Like, even with all this stuff canceled, there's, you know, on top of like the communication just on the norm, then there's all the communication that, you know, is on the personal level. So I think just remaining positive and kind of not engaging in a lot of news, to be honest with you. I think the focus kind of needs to be in what can be conducive, conductive, helpful in this scenario.
Yeah, I love that. Basically updating your resume. By that,
Yeah.
I mean your skill set. You're more than just an artist. You're more than just a rapper. You know, maybe you dabble in graphic design. This might be that time to kind of jump into that, try new things.
You know what? Totally. Honestly, I mean, like, for example, like Randy, you were talking about your artist who's offering lessons. Honestly, I feel like that's the most human thing to be like, you know, I'm going to offer guitar lessons. To me, as a fan of like an artist who is bigger, you know, to offer lessons is like amazing. And I don't think there's any shame in being real. Every person is going through this right now. You know, even if you're busy, you know, everyone in the world is being affected by this. Things have to happen and change. The government and all this, I mean, they're being affected. So we have to look at this reality. It's not just one group.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any like specific examples? I know, Sam, you talked a lot about, what did you call it? Mailbox money. Can you kind of pick that apart a little bit?
Yeah, I'll pick it apart. But one thing I do want to say that I feel like we haven't spoken about is like, let's dial this back even further. Let's look at this from a macro perspective. Artists are business owners. We are business owners. Each of us owns a business, right? If you're a business, you have to focus on being liquid. So like, if this is teaching anyone anything, it's that like there will be months with a business where income is not coming in. Your primary sources of income are not coming in. So if you're a smart business owner, you're going to focus on how can you be liquid across the year. I own a business and I have employees, and if another dollar didn't come in for the rest of the year, they have their jobs for the rest of the year, because we focus so much on liquidity. And we try to preach that with our clients too. It's like, if no more if coronavirus continues, God forbid, and touring doesn't happen, they'll be good, because we focus on being liquid. And I think that sometimes is getting lost in translation with everyone freaking out about current income. Yeah, we're losing a ton of potential earnings, potential revenue, even locked in revenue that's now getting canceled. But we should have been focusing on this months ago, years ago. So I think that's like the bigger point. Some data to go into some of the micro stuff that you were asking me about. So just some like actual data that I found online to bring up here. So Spotify is down roughly 11% streaming last week. I think that can be attributed to people not commuting to work, and people either working at home on mute with family or friends or roommates, or having news or Netflix on in the background. Across all DSP platforms, streaming's down roughly 8.8%. Sync pitching is being affected because film and television production is halted. Like we said a million times, touring is kaput, right? Like, so all these things are not happening. However, the good of that, YouTube streaming is up 1.3%. Just in Italy alone, the amount of Instagram lives has doubled, just as some like tangible data points. One of my close buddies works for a major news outlet in ad sales, and he said that traffic and demand are way up right now because advertisers aren't willing to buy slots, right? Because of the uncertainty. So what that indicates to me is your CPCs and your CTRs are super cheap right now. CPCs being cost per click, CTRs being click-through rate. All of this stuff, digital advertisement, right? It's all extremely cheap to reach people right now because everyone's on the internet. I just spoke to my distributor before this meeting just to get kind of a data point from them. And they said that they're seeing roughly a 20 to 30% decrease right now in releases that are coming out, that are being sent through their platform. Because of uncertainty, managers, labels, whomever aren't wanting to distribute music because they don't know what's going to happen to it. They can't predict or follow the norm of what happens with their music. To me, that indicates the opposite. That indicates that of the 30 to 40,000 Spotify releases that happen a day, that's an actual number that Spotify put out, 30 to 40,000, they get roughly a day delivered. 20 or 30% of that isn't happening right now. So there's less noise in the market to reach people. Yes, streaming's down, but video's up. So how about this for an idea? Shoot short form video content by yourself at your home or with your roommates, target it on all social media platforms, ad buys on news stations, whatever you have to do, focusing on a low click-through rate and cost per click, and drive with a trackable link back to DSPs. So use the video that's engaging to drive streaming. So I think like that's something that we've been really focused on in the last week or two, is creating these like easy promo videos or showing artists how to do them, and then using that, creating a trackable link that links to a smart link. So for anyone who's watching, a smart link essentially allows you to put all the DSPs in one link. So instead of driving everyone to Spotify and then 30% of the viewers don't have, or people who engage with the ad don't have Spotify, you lost 30% of the clicks. So you put all of the DSPs in one link, and then you use a trackable link to cover that up so you can monitor the data, and then you can shorten the link as well. So just some little like tricks that we're implementing right now. And I wanted to pull that data together because I thought that might be helpful in just kind of explaining and justifying why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, here's just an example of the smart link that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Smart URL is a good one. Feature.fm has really cool
Linkfire.
pre-save. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
By the way, one other thing real quick about streaming being down, one of the main reasons that a lot of the studies think that streaming numbers are down is because there haven't been as many new releases or as much money spent to support new releases. So while streaming's down, it may just because there aren't as many major releases getting pushed, and everything else may not really be down for a catalog or just average releases. So you shouldn't let that 8% or 10%, whatever numbers we're seeing, distract you from still caring about streaming, because the numbers overall really aren't down much
Yeah, we're going full in for it. I mean, I even if those numbers are an anomaly, like you're saying, and they are wrong, I'm flipping the script. I'm going at, if they are right, then great. That's 11%, or that's 20 to 30% of people who aren't putting music out. So I now have a better chance of reaching more people. And if it isn't accurate, then it's the same as normal.
Well, I think too, with people being on Instagram as much as they are right now, go into your Spotify page, click on your current single, click the share button, post it in Instagram stories, and send that thing out there 10, 15 times a day. Turn your Instagram into your own radio station. And every time somebody listens for 31 seconds, you got paid. So now it's like, take your digital content and put it in front of the eyeballs of where people are. If you can't afford to run ads, I mean, I've actually upped my ad spend during all of this because I know people are sitting in front of Facebook and Instagram right now. So as some people are pulling back, I'm going all in. And right now, you know, for me, it's working out really well because I always see things from where are the people hanging out and how can I get their attention? And if they're not going to the digital service providers, let's bring the digital service providers to them. And with the APIs that are out there, and I know a lot of you guys are like, oh my God, APIs and cost per clicks and all this stuff. This is all things you should know about your business. These are all ways for you to get your music in front of the right people. Don't expect them to find you today. You've got to go find them.
Well said. Awesome. All right. This one's just, I want to kind of have fun with. I know we've kind of said predictions already, but what do you really think that this is going to, how you think it's going to shift the industry moving forward? Is this for anybody?
I think it's going to weed some people out. I really do. I think that those part-time hobbyists who called themselves musicians and who called themselves, they're going to end up going away. And it's going to, goes back to the strong will survive. I like what Sam said. People are now going to start realizing that this is a business. And in real businesses, they have stockpiles of things. A lot of businesses take a long time to make money. Some of these artists right now, which is sad, weren't making money before the pandemic came along. They were confused before the pandemic came along. They were just half-assing it before the pandemic came along. So some of them, it's starting to pick them up a little bit. But I think that, you know, people are going to not feel so invincible. I think people are going to start realizing that at any particular second, I need to have multiple income streams in place before something like this happens. So if a band was just focused on touring, now maybe they're going to go look at their online store and see how they can keep that up and running and maintaining during this thing. So I just think it's going to make better business owners.
Yeah, there's one other point I'd bring up is where you said that you think it's going to weed out hobbyist musicians. It may do the opposite also and make some professional musicians part-time musicians. Because of such the cash hit that a lot of them are taking right now, I think you're going to see a lot of people taking on other jobs when they can. And some of them may find, hey, I can still support this career that I was making money full-time as a musician and also work and kind of change their outlook on their career and maybe let them focus on just the most profitable areas of their career and use some of that other time to provide for their families rather than put out subpar product. So that there's a lot of ways it can go. And, you know, going back to Sam's point before about budgeting, you know, I have one of my acts, Underoath, they do budget. We plan things out, and their last tour date they had where they make the majority of their money was last year at the end of the summer was their last tour. So we were budgeting out to take a year off and starting this summer at the beginning of the summer. So everyone had enough money. They do well enough that everybody had enough money to go a year. Now we got to go 18 months. But what, you know, when you talk about how that's going to change people's mindsets, what I hope it does with this artist is to figure out what more they can do when they're off to make other revenue streams.
Totally.
Be that professionally or personally to invest in other businesses.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest thing is the drummer from Underoath, one of my artists, he's out there and he's been producing records and writing with artists. And one of the really interesting things he's doing right now is he's offering to play on other artists' records remotely. Send him the tracks, he'll record the drum tracks along to it and send it back to them.
Smart.
I thought that was a really
that's perfect. That's such a perfect example of using this scenario to get creative and to make things work. I mean, there's so many opportunities with that, and like co-writing and like all kinds of things you could do.
Yeah, Vanessa, talking about that, one of my other artists was writing with this producer, Matt Squire, last week.
Yeah.
They were writing, and he has this whole home setup right now where they're on Zoom, but then also sharing. I don't know which programs they're using, but I know Splice, I think, was one of them, but they're sharing.
Yeah, Splice is great. Yeah.
Where my artist is recording a raw guitar track, sending it through to Matt, and he's putting it through his effects to get the right sounds.
Crazy.
Sending it back to the artist again, and they're writing songs like that right now.
So, you know what? This is the perfect time for that. And to be honest with you, I've already been co-writing with numerous artists for like, I don't know, the last year and a half. And I think that that is the new way. A lot of this, I think out of this shift, people are not going to be necessarily doing the same things they were before. I think a lot of people are going to change. And yeah, I think it's all about stuff like that and being creative and utilizing different ways. It's like all recording is too, if you look from a recording person's, job, or like even other jobs, it's all about troubleshooting, and it's like that can be applied to anything. And really that's, I feel like, such a big, thing that people can explore with this shift. Yeah,
and it's interesting because mostly electronic artists and hip hop artists were doing this remote thing. You didn't see as many people tracking guitar remotely, but this is showing it can be done. And I'm excited by that because for Underoath, my drummer lives in Salt Lake City. The rest of the band lives in Florida, and showing what these guys are doing. Why do we have to fly him to Florida to do sessions?
No, it's awesome. It's so easy. Like it's so nice. That's what I'm saying, like about learning skills. If there's, any artists out there, I mean, just with a Mac computer, you can get, GarageBand, or, I mean, if you have it, Logic, and that it's like you can bounce a WAV file and send it to someone, and then they can process it. It's just, there's so many different ways of like working. And I really, to me, like, I know there's a lot of hardship, and a lot of people are going through fear of unknown, but I feel like this is going to change everything, and things are not going to be the same after this. And we have to kind of go that way.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, two things it's going to do. As Randy was talking about, it'll expose the fragility of touring and the touring industry. Like, there was a huge shift a decade or so ago where like touring, obviously it's always been a major part of artists' revenue, but now it's the majority of most artists' revenue. So I think it'll expose the fragility of that, and whether some are becoming part-time musicians or some are becoming full, making the switch, whatever it may be. All of those artists are going to realize they need to do other things, whether it's in the music industry or not, whether it's playing drums on other people's records. I love that. I think that's a great idea. Or it's starting a coffee shop or whatever it may be, playing guitar for other people, teaching lessons. I think it's showing artists that they have to focus on other things. The other thing I've been noticing, and we haven't really spoken about this yet, is on the independent music side, I'm seeing quite a few vultures coming in trying to buy up catalogs. And I think that artists are starting to actually consider selling their catalogs if they own them for a lump sum. If you're good at negotiating, you can get 10x, 15x even on 1 year's revenue on streaming. So if you're doing 100K a year on streaming, you can ask for $1 million plus and selling your back catalog to them. A lot of artists are going, you know what, like, I'm good with that. I proved that this works. I'm going to create new music and I'll own all of that, but I need a lump sum now. And so I'm seeing a big switch in people starting to consider those options. Sad, but it makes sense.
Hey, Sam, I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Are any of those artists who are doing those deals, are they able to sell 50% of their royalty revenue rather than 100%?
Yeah. So we actually did one recently, and we kept all of pub and split master ownership.
Yeah. Can you also sell the rights to the royalties for, say, like a 10-year royalty deal where you still own the masters and the masters revert back to you after those 10 years?
I've heard of them. We haven't done one, but I know that you can also do deals now with certain banks. So like, for instance, in Nashville, we have a bank called Pinnacle. It's where I bank and all my artists bank. They have a music industry department. They'll do loans based on your streaming royalties. So technically they recoup off of what you're doing on royalties as your income. But speaking specifically on these like capital ownership companies coming in and like renting your catalog or leasing your catalog, if you will, I think it's possible. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure.
Cool. Yeah, that's kind of how when I hear those things, you hear the horrible predatory story, and then it's
Right.
like, all right, how do we flip this to
Right.
protect the artist,
Totally.
but also allow this new revenue stream to exist and allow more capital investment to come into music? Because the way I look at it, in the old days, you had a royalty deal where you got like 18%.
Right.
If you could sell 50% of your catalog at 10x or license it even better,
Right.
it's such a better deal than the old-fashioned record deal. So
Yeah.
while it's in one sense sad to see, it's bringing new capital in and giving more flexibility to artists. And I assume as this develops more and artists have more leverage and there's less of a supply, people will get more creative with the offers to those artists because
Totally.
they don't want the deals.
Well, you can also do like label services deals sort of like that, where you're still retaining ownership of your master. You're selling them the license, if you will, on the project. And so you're doing one album with them plus back catalog. They get the back catalog for 3 to 5 years, and they're giving you a 6-figure sum as an advance or a marketing budget, or split however you see fit.
You can
And then
conceivably do a licensing deal with, or an artist services deal, and then license your royalties to someone else too. You can get really
you're a
creative.
split of them. Totally. Yeah, no, there's so many avenues down that like rabbit hole. It's just making sure that you know the value of your catalog. I think that's where having a business manager and a manager and a lawyer on your team looking those things over is like so vital. I can look at a catalog with a business manager that we work with and prove why it's worth 3 or 4 times what the artist has been offered, and so sometimes you got to be able to forecast and look at that and say, look, it's still upward trajectory on streaming platforms. So assuming it moves at the same percentage that it has been, this is what it's worth, but yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it a lot right now, and I'm curious to see how much more of that infiltrates the music industry.
Yeah, I think, we've kind of been saying this over and over again, but I think it's really just going to force some of these artists to think about their business in a whole new way, whether it's getting a new skill or, maybe selling their catalog or looking into licensing. I think it's just really gonna, weed out, not weed out the weak, but, weed out the people who aren't as serious about thinking about it as a business.
Totally.
It'll be too hard to survive if you aren't willing to go and put in a lot of work and really think about it, I think.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I have a good amount of questions flowing in. I'm just going to jump into those and we can kind of see where it leads us. If anybody is interested in having me bring you on video, audio, whatever, you can ask your question. You can kind of join the conversation. Just raise your hand in the chat and I'll bring you on. Otherwise, just add it to the Q&A and I can just repeat it here. That works. I've got Bruce here first. Says, do you think that we are close to the home concert saturation of public interest and public support?
I think we're past it.
Well past.
Think about how fast, like not even a week did it take and everybody was doing live streaming. I mean, like so quickly did we all adapt to this. So everybody's like so in it.
Yeah, I think it's not just a live concert where you're like, on Twitch or stream it and you're earning revenue from it. Even just Instagram lives. Like I was going Instagram live middle of last week and seeing an insane engagement compared to my like usual engagement, like 2 or 3 times the usual engagement. But I'm seeing that slowing down very quickly now that if you literally open Instagram, everyone is live at the top. And so like, I love the idea. We did one last night, an Instagram live concert where my artist went live or joined someone else's live and played songs. I think it's great for reaching more people, but it's certainly saturated as a revenue source already.
Yeah, what I think is also the case is it's kind of like any other new technology that comes into music or any other area of the world is everybody jumps in. The people who do it first benefit, but then it comes down to quality. And I think we'll continue to see them. Like, I haven't watched it yet, but Nicole, who works with me, was telling me she's been watching these Ben Gibbard ones, and that he's doing like high quality streams. I'm a comedy fan also, and Mike Birbiglia has been doing this comedy Instagram live at 2:00 every day, where he interviews another, and he doesn't even interview, he talks to another comedian. And what they typically would do is go to small clubs to work through their material to get their set ready. They can't go to small clubs to work through their material. So they're getting on Instagram live with another big comedian and talking through their jokes they haven't done yet to help craft their material. And you can sit and view that. So if you're a comedy fan, like it's super cool. Like the other day I saw like John Mulaney and Mike Birbiglia just working out jokes together. And they're
awesome.
doing all that to raise money for the staff at comedy clubs. And the website they're doing it from is called Tip Your Wait Staff. And just everything about that, it ties in a charity. It ties in something that's interesting. It's serialized because it's every day. And it has all the right aspects to make you want to come back. And while that's not music, I don't see why someone in music can't come up with similar formulas. I mean, you could have some of the writing sessions like Vanessa's talking about doing. Imagine doing an Instagram live with two artists that have fans where they're writing a song together live, where people can watch it happen in real time.
Totally. That's so cool.
And that's where we have to look for where these streams are going to stay interesting. Because live streams of music, for whatever reason, are not popular. I do a lot of consulting for like music tech startups in addition to managing. And I constantly get pitched ideas for music streaming, live event, startup ideas. And right now we're in a short moment where they work, but as a whole, they don't work. And then it became the virtual reality live concerts, which honestly are pretty freaking cool. And I think the technology may get there to it being interesting. But for the most part, people aren't watching live streams of concerts other than Coachella and a couple of landmark events. And even then, it's not massive. It's just something where a sponsor can tie their name to it, and they're making money on the sponsorship side, and it's a marketing tool for the overall event.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is a little saturated, and it's just it comes down to quality. And if you have a call to action in there, what's your guys' opinion on like Stage It, for instance? You have to pay to get into the room versus something like Twitch or Instagram Live. Like anybody can come and you can just put like cash at me here. What are your, like, when is it okay to go to that next level and go to the Stage It?
When you have super fans.
People are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, I think like, speaking on that, I'm a firm believer in like, you have to prove viability in the marketplace first. So like if you're already doing this on Instagram Live, or you're already doing it on YouTube Live or whatever it may be, Twitch, and it's working and you're seeing like significant crossover from, okay, there's 100 people watching and 10% of them are donating to my Venmo or PayPal or Cash App or whatever. That might be when you start to consider, okay, I can migrate this audience to a buy-in model. So I'm generating, instead of 100 people watching, maybe 60 people are going to watch, but that's 60 sales, not 10 sales. I think that works, but you have to be ready for it. Personally, I'm not using them. I'm using Instagram Live if I am doing them, pinning Venmos in the thread, stuff like that. But I kind of just like doing them as a free option and then driving traffic to something else that will sell. I know a lot of people just don't like to have fans lily pad jump to a million different things, but I'm a firm believer in like you have to give fans content somewhere. If you charge for everything, then you'll never build a business.
Yeah, the other thing, go on, Vanessa, sorry.
Oh no, you know what I was just gonna say is, just as an artist, and then also with other artists that I work with, I think that that's so in line, and I agree, even just coming from an artist standpoint, that really at this point right now, as artists, we need to just connect with our fans, and I think in a small amount. And I think once an artist has a really good audience, then considering, maybe making a really, really good live show where you can take it to stage it or something like that. But I think, at this point, because of the oversaturation and where people are at financially unknown, I think it's all about making people feel good and giving them an escape right now and connecting with fans.
Yeah, the other thing about if you're going to do a ticketed stream, I think you need to offer something more than what you're getting in an Instagram live stream.
Yeah.
Where you're talking to the fans while you're doing it. And I don't know what the interactivity is like on stage these days, but it should be on a platform where the fans can interact with you. Maybe they can make requests. It would be amazing if you could have a fan do a duet with you if you're a singer. Just find unique ways to make it that special. Because if you could do, on Instagram Live, you could bring someone else into the stream with you. Now imagine you did that and stage it, and you can pay to sing a song with me, and fans are going to watch it. People would do that. People would pay for that. It's a cool experience. So it's always really about finding that experience that you can create that has a quantifiable value.
Yeah, you could do every ticket purchase gives you a certain amount of raffles, and every 30 minutes on your stream, you give away free merch. Or there's another platform called Looped, where I think it's $150 an hour. And essentially you can give away or charge tickets to a private video chat with your artist. And so you can do as many as you want in an hour and charge as much as you want for them, or you can give them away and just eat the cost. And they're able to, it comes from a private server, so they don't know who the artist is, but it also allows them to take a video or take a photo of them on a chat privately with you. We've been starting to think about implementing that in some broader marketing strategies, just as an intimacy level that fans don't always get with artists on those live streams. But I think if you're using Instagram, I don't know that StageIt has that, you're right. But one thing we've been doing on our Instagram lives is bringing fans in every 10 minutes and having them ask a Q&A question, and then jumping off. I mean, even Evan, when I joined your Instagram live last week, all of the people that follow me were notified that I was live on yours. So now you're getting migrated audience from me. I'm getting migrated audience from you. That's how you build a following. It might not be direct revenue now, but you're building that following as future revenue.
Absolutely. Yeah. And back to your point way back when you said something about artists don't really like to lily pad jump, have fans lily pad jump from one to another. I think that is crucial. You're not going to immediately go up to somebody and go for the sale. So having them go to, a different DSP or your mailing list or whatever it might be is really crucial to kind of gain trust and gain that advocacy that you need for fans. So I think that's, you have to do that, honestly.
Sure.
That's you don't meet someone and say, hey, let's get married.
Not always.
Not always. There's exceptions, but it's got to be organic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I definitely have a good amount of questions here. What are the chances that direct payouts for monetizing online content, such as YouTube videos, radically changing in the coming months?
How long is YouTube gonna be going, I guess?
What was the question? Can you read that again?
Yes, of course. What are the chances that direct payouts for monetizing online content, such as YouTube videos, radically changing? What are the chances that it's going to be changing for?
Sure. I think that there's a lot of changes that will happen before YouTube changes their ad buyout, ad strategies or revenue percentages, whatever the split out is. But I think that artists should be driving fans towards that. There's been a lot of showcasing in the last few weeks of which platforms give what royalties and who's the highest and lowest coming out of it. Content ID claiming is a huge way to make income right now from YouTube. We've seen artists, when I was running the US marketing department at 1RPM in 2017 and 2018, We had a country rap artist, hip hop artist who utilized content ID claiming and made 6 figures a year just off claiming and putting an ad in front of fan videos that use their music. Most artists will make their content ID claim able to just monetize and run the ad on other people's things. I wish Rick was in here still, but we had a viral video for Jonas about 5 years ago that was a remix of a Taylor Swift song. And her content ID system doesn't run and doesn't make money off it. Instead, she decides to block it because her brand is so tight knit that she doesn't want other people utilizing that stuff and her making money. She'd rather just block it. So we had 1 million views in like 6 hours and it got taken down. But if she content ID claimed that was, 5-figure income at the very least.
Yeah. You said you worked with 1RPM. Do you know the artist Sammy Farrow?
Not sure.
That's kind of his strategy as well, where he keeps it unblocked. So one of his songs in the running got placed on like some big soccer tournament video, and it like blew up, and he saw a huge spike in Spotify from it. So keeping that unblocked really does, open you up to new experiences and new possibilities.
Well, totally. And there's unblocked in that you're not content ID claiming it at all, which is like whitelisting the channel or whitelisting the video. You can also content ID claim it where you're allowing it to exist, but you're just putting ads in the beginning of their video where all that revenue is coming back to you, not the soccer channel. But yeah, when I was at 1RPM, we had so many clients coming through. It's impossible to know all of them, sadly.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, by the way, answering your question, there's another point is most of these major streaming platforms at this point, they're publicly traded corporations that answer to shareholders. And their stocks have taken a massive beating over the last 3 weeks. Changing their economics to give artists more money is going to hurt them long-term with their shareholders and their stock value. And they care a hell of a lot more about their share price than they do about artists.
True.
And they, just for their own like safety as a company, I just don't think they can do that, even if they wanted to.
For sure. What's up, Vinny? You raised your hand in here. I don't know. I didn't know if you meant to do that or not, but I brought you in anyway.
Can you see me? Am I live?
Yeah.
See it.
Okay, word. I accidentally sent that anonymously, but that was my question. And I've been reading up on that a little bit just because, like you said, there are a lot of people that these streaming companies have to answer to. And many of them are owned by financial conglomerates and board of directors that are Hollywood based, and Hollywood is slotted to take at least a $20 billion hit over the next year, if not long term, that number growing larger. So I guess I formed it in the form of a question to see what you guys had to say. My personal prediction would be, my guess is that they're going to have to, like you said, there are people that are worried about the bottom line. And these percentages are going to have to change to respond to in a brand new economy with a pandemic culture in mind. So I think this is going to be really interesting as far as a time period of certain platforms rising and falling the same way that some folks were talking earlier about, hobbyists falling off and things like that, and some full-time artists. So I think it's going to be really important to pay attention to the news, to see what platforms are thriving and which ones are going into bankruptcy over the next coming months. But I would say they're going to have to change their percentage payouts because it's based on an inflation rate that is simply not going to be the same.
I don't see it happening. I hope you're right, though.
But I think I'm taking the opposite approach. You're saying that you brought up the point that perhaps artists would be getting paid more from this. I think they're going to be paid less because the saturation of content creators and new hobbyist musicians, it's kind of the same idea as whenever countries go into recession and the weather's terrible, like a lot of northern UK, some of the best music on the planet comes out of simply being isolated and stuck inside. You can blame the Beatles for terrible weather and terrible food, or blame those for the Beatles. You know what I'm saying? So I think the market's going to get so saturated that it's going to have to respond accordingly. Because if you had 10 million content creators and now you have 30 million, the competition's larger, so the payouts are going to have to get smaller.
Oh, I see where you're coming from. And that it depends on how they pay. Right now, they're paying by engagement. So you constantly have, tens of thousands of releases coming out, but we're all paid on the engagement and market share, not, so like what you're saying is more for the bigger superstar acts and like mid-level acts. I don't know that their payouts change drastically by this competition, and they're not going to change their payout structure, but the share may shrink what everybody's taking a bite from.
Right. So I would say overall, I'm wondering if the overall payout is going to have to come down, if they're going to have to bring the percentage from 100% to 75%, just so that everybody can continue thriving and making content.
Yeah, I mean, what platforms like Spotify are doing right now is like they just launched podcasts, and a huge reason they launched podcasts, and they didn't just launch it, but in the past year, they launched podcasts so that they can have more user hours not listening to music, so that there's less market share for music, so that they can pay less money to music. And that's just how these platforms are looking at things. They're looking at how they can keep as much revenue on their platform as possible and not paying it out to artists.
I see.
Hey, Vinny, do you want to stay in here? I'm going to bring somebody else in. You want me to kick you out? What would you prefer?
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
Which one?
I'll mute. I'll be here.
Okay. All right. This person put in a really long message. I wanted them to hop in here and ask everybody personally. Hi.
Hey, is this me?
This is you.
Okay.
How are you? Thanks for coming.
Hi. Yeah. Thank you guys for doing this. Yeah. So what an interesting time. Okay. Tonight was supposed to be a
Lost there.
and done like numerous recording attempts and just like sort of figuring it out.
Real quick, I think we lost like half of that beginning question. Can you repeat it for us?
Yeah, sure. So we are a duo called MMCM, and we've been established since like 2017. We only have one single released right now, but we're planning to release our like first collection of songs actually tonight at the Hideout in Chicago. Is supposed to be the show, and as we saw things start to crumble, like
Are we giving up?
We're losing you here. We can't hear anything. I'm sorry.
Could you type it out maybe?
It's typed in here.
Yeah, it's typed in here. Can you guys see it? Otherwise, I can just plop it in.
Down. So
Okay, there it is.
we have physical production, sort of like Emily would have done. Oh no. Uh-oh.
I think you're better off just reading it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we're just gonna, I think, take a whack. You guys can all see the Q&A section
Yes.
in here. All right, cool. It looks like overall how she was asking how to become more mindful and keep going with this release, even though the release strategy was kind of the show that was supposed to be tonight. That of course isn't happening anymore.
Could I make some suggestions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're looking for an alternative, you said you're a duo. Is your bandmate with you or somewhere else?
He's my life partner as well, so he's just sleeping right now.
Okay, cool. So do you guys kind of have like a little bit of a fan base online?
Uh-oh, I can't.
So the question I asked is,
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, of course. Do you guys have a little bit of a fan base or some followers online?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was going to say, if you were supposed to have a show tonight, maybe instead you and your partner could do an announcement, post on all your social media that you guys will go live tonight. And maybe you could talk about the songs and play them. If you can't play them like acoustically in a songwriter format, but maybe you could just play some of the music for people, somehow make an alternative about it.
Yeah. So like, I guess one question I have is, do you think it would be wise to, because I haven't, they aren't going to be available digitally yet. I haven't sent them to the distributor. We're just like wrapping up some artwork things. But do you think it would be worthwhile to like release one song on Bandcamp or something to give people a taste? Like, I don't want to give it away too much, but I'm also like, I'm trying to find the line between still promoting it and keeping people engaged.
How many songs is the project?
It's 6 songs.
So I personally, so part of my business is management. The other side is project management. So I have 8 employees who basically consult on releases. So what we do is digital distribution, Spotify promotion, DSP pitching,
Awesome.
branding, all that. What I would recommend is distribute it, get it all sent out with single release dates and an EP release date. Also, as a future note, I probably would plan the release show around when the digital release is coming out. So either fans have 2 to 3 days to learn the lyrics before the concert, or it's coming out same time as the concert, and so they can hear the song live and then go and stream it later. Because in that gap between the concert and the streaming, you may have lost them,
Sure.
So I would recommend that, but I would probably put a single out 3 to 4 weeks from now, which gives you enough time to get it onto the platform and pitch it to editorial. And then I would typically, we always recommend 6 to 8 weeks for a single to live. That's if you have a promotion team. If you don't, and you're in, these kind of times, I would do 3 weeks, maybe even slightly less. And I would get another single out to follow it up. And then 3 weeks later, the EP, and just run ads and start pushing and try to get fans to go over. One thing that gets missed a lot in Spotify is people think it's just playlists, but one thing that we push is like save rate and follow rate is a huge thing, but also skip rate. People don't think about skip rate. It's 31 seconds of a stream on Spotify to make money. But if your fans listen to 31 seconds and then skipped or then repeated, like, skipped it and then played it again for 31 seconds, your skip rate is horrible. That shows the platform that people don't like the song. You want to show them that people are listening to the whole song and then engaging with it. So someone streams the song and then they go, oh, this is awesome. They save it. They follow you. They add it to their playlist. That shows the platform people like it, and they add it to their algorithmic playlists, their Discover Weeklies, release radars, all those things, daily mix. So that's a strategy I would implement. Obviously, if you haven't built the infrastructure for that, now is probably the time to start building that infrastructure.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to hear your show got canceled. We're all getting over it, I promise.
Yeah. So basically, to summarize what you said, so basically I shouldn't do like a single release on Bandcamp just to keep people engaged. Like instead, maybe do the live show tonight and then announce that it's coming like in a few weeks.
Yeah, I would probably do like a pre-save campaign for the song. So anyone who pre-saves the song, you'll send them like a private snippet of the song even to get people hyped, or you can use social ads, like I said, on social media to put like a 45-second version of the song up online to get people excited, but don't give the whole thing away. I personally I prefer platforms where you can monetize and where there's residual value to it. So you build streams on Spotify. It helps you in all other, things in the future with touring and sync. And, but I know like some people love Bandcamp. Randy, you're a consultant for Bandcamp, aren't you?
No, Bands in Town.
Oh, Bands in Town. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but one thing I would say, just jumping in there, talking about Bandcamp, is Bandcamp's awesome, but Spotify will alert fans when you put up new music based on their engagement for the first song you put up by the next song you put up. So if you send all your fans to Bandcamp first and then later send them to Spotify, you're going to see a lower reaction time or a lesser engagement level on Spotify, which is actually going to harm you. Yeah. So you should really put your music first on Spotify rather
Okay.
than, and it could be the same time, but you should be driving your fans to Spotify to stream to make sure that they're alerted when you add new music.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Well, I hope we answered your questions. I'm going to move on to somebody else, but I really appreciate you jumping in here. Sorry, we had a little issues
Yeah.
at the beginning. Oh, cool.
Can
Thanks
I
for
ask a
joining
quick
us.
question?
Yeah, for her?
No, to you
Oh.
guys.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone's gonna have done much work on this or know yet, but I was just curious, for people who make their living in music, which I assume is all of us, has anyone found resources yet for unemployment, government assistance, small business loans? I don't know where some of the people listening are, but I know for us that's something that's very real.
I just started filling out one through the Recording Academy. There are some sources out there. I know something was posted on Soundgirls, on the Soundgirls Facebook group, which was all music related places to get unemployment aid. I know Music Cares is working on something. I've submitted something through, there was some stuff posted on Billboard. Those are the sources that I've been looking at right now. And I know there's also some independent contractor unemployment stuff that you can go about.
Yeah, I don't think any of it's 100% official yet, but Evan just shared this Wall Street Journal article.
Yeah, I just got sent that this morning, so I was checking it out. There's a specific area talking about the music industry and musicians. You know, this is about this bill that's still kind of
Pending.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of interesting. It breaks down different industries and how it's going to impact it. So I'll let you guys check that out. It's pretty in depth.
Cool, awesome, because that's obviously going to be important to a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And tomorrow we are focused on hospitality service solutions. Because a lot of artists are also baristas or bartenders or servers. So it's like they're kind of getting doubly screwed. So I have my entertainment lawyer who is based out of here in Chicago. So might be, that might be great for everybody worldwide necessarily, but I know he has some tools and resources to share about unemployment, when it's a good time to do it, some more thoughts on that, and somebody else involved in the service industry that owns restaurants and stuff, and like how they're struggling with this.
The other thing too, just on that, is that I feel like we all kind of need to do some research and education around all of this, because we're talking about everyone going through this and like needing to nearly everyone is going to have to figure out the unemployment or income situation. So I think it's definitely, about for even the people who are watching this, like finding the right sources, and kind of also, we're working day to day here. No one really quite knows yet when this is going to end. That's the truth.
Absolutely is. Got a couple other questions before we wrap up. I appreciate your guys' time. Denise says, what have you guys done in the past to maintain a balance mentally, emotionally, physically, and with the shift that everyone's that's going on? Are you being more conscious of doing it, or no change from the previous habits? So specifically on mental well-being.
Yeah, I think like everyone's stuck inside right now. So for me, it's been like making sure I take time to get outside. So taking my dog on walks, or I do soccer training and a bunch of stuff like that. Like for me right now, it's like taking time during the day to take those pauses. I mean, I went from getting a stupid amount of emails a day. Now it's back to normal. But the first week of everyone working from home from coronavirus, I saw like 5% of the normal emails I was getting a day. And so for me, I was like freaking out, like, what is there to do right now during the day? And so I was focusing on my own mental health so that I knew I could get back and climb the mountain that was building as coronavirus continued to become a bigger problem. So for me, it's like getting outside and making sure that like I'm focused on myself as much as my business.
Cool.
I'll mention this just because I'm in a city. Just being in New York, I mean, I was trying to go run kind of every other day, but to be honest with you, it's kind of like, it's not that, it doesn't feel that safe to be outside right now. And that's a really hard place and tricky place to be. And I feel like for people who are in cities where it's just, you know, like New York and stuff like that, and there's not a lot of outdoors and stuff like that, one thing that I've been doing, and I've been talking to a lot of other people, also people who live alone, is to maintain the balance, is to stay in touch with people you love, do a lot of FaceTime. Also, you know, hence the whole like going live, a lot of people are offering meditation and yoga. You know, even if you weren't into that before, honestly, I mean, taking the 5-10 minutes of self-care and trying a online workout or meditation or reading a book or just stepping away. I've had moments where I had so much stuff coming at me between my own work and other work for other people that I had to like, I was getting overwhelmed where normally I wouldn't, but I just had to step away for a minute. And so, you know, usually when you do a lot of jobs and stuff like that, you're able to like figure out a balance when you are able to go outside or exercise regularly. But for the people who aren't used to the way life is now, just take 5 minutes for yourself and think about breathing or doing something that makes you feel really good or makes you laugh. Honestly, there's, you know, a lot of funny like Instagram stuff going on, you know, with just the posts. I mean, I would suggest that honestly, everybody needs a good laugh right now.
Yeah, the other thing I'd point out is that the only thing that's keeping me mildly sane right now is just thinking and realizing that everyone's in this position. It's woe is me. Like this scenario is only screwing me. This is like almost everybody in our country, and we're gonna have problems. You know, some of us who maybe made too much money in 2018 but made nothing this year. Because as we know, the music industry has highs and lows. One of my highs was 2018. One of my lows is this year before coronavirus. So I know I'm not going to get the tax credits that could help pay my bills right now. But I do know that most likely rent and mortgage will be forgiven for some point in time. So there's going to be benefits to help us out. We don't know exactly what they are, but the biggest thing that's keeping me sane is just being like, when you look at the medical data, there's a very slim chance you're going to get sick and die. So that I don't even worry about that. Like that's just like the sickness is just a headache. And then I look at financially what this is all doing to us, and we should be able to recover somehow because the government is going to do certain things to force rent and mortgages to be forgiven for a time. And all of us who work in the music industry, we've all had dry periods. It's how it works. And when we've had them in the past, there's been no one there to support us. For the first time ever, we're struggling, and there's actually some support to have our back.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that is yet. I'm hopeful that it's going to be decent support to get by and hold us over for a couple of months. So that's honestly what keeps me the most sane. And been reading lots of articles about what's going on with the virus, how it's progressing in other countries, and how few people that are healthy do okay. And that doesn't mean that I'm minimizing why we're doing this, but it helps me to not have a fear of what's going on right now. And then other than that, I'm lucky enough that I live in Long Beach and I'm 3 blocks from the beach. So I try to go out every day and go walk on the beach, which, you know, nothing better than that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely big into the meditation. I take my time with that. I go outside when I can, but you know, you have to take care of yourself. But you are totally right. The music industry is so used to this up and down all the time that yet it sucks. The touring and the events being canceled sucks, but you know, we're kind of used to this like dealing with ambiguity all the time. It's the rest of all the other industries that aren't so familiar. So it is interesting. Let me see. One more hand raise. And he's back.
There we go.
Hello, sir.
Here we go. Do I need to turn on my video?
It's up to you.
Yeah, it's kind of relevant. Hi, I'm kind of the apocalyptic voice of these 7-day series. I know if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, or the host coming here for the first time, I'm gonna show you 2 things that make me sleep really easy right now, and to add a little lightness. First off, it's a 22 Ruger that I keep right next to my bed, and that makes me feel a lot better. And then also, I found out they sell Hennessy in a handle. And so I'm just, I'm creating, I am doing that stuff too. But if you look over here, I'm recording music regularly. And I think right now the trickiest part is feeling fulfilled. Feeling secure and feeling fulfilled are the 2 survivalist things we need to focus on right now. So making sure that your necessities are taken care of, that you feel safe, and that you can leave.
And that you have plenty of this.
There you go.
Oh my God.
There you go. Perfect. And creating is my saving grace right now. And Evan knows as much as anybody. I hate sitting in front of the camera instead of sitting in front of real human beings. And I'm forcing myself to do it. And once I have clicked the final edit button and publish, I feel so accomplished and so fulfilled. And I feel like I'm still mattering in the music industry, or whatever's left of it and what is going to become of it. And I think staying connected to your fans and creating is the best way to stay sane, at least for me.
Absolutely. Cool.
And the other stuff.
And that bottle of Hennessy mainly. Gotcha. Well, cool, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up here. I really think that this was a great conversation about management and, how you should start to direct your business and things that you need to think about. But if you want the replay of this, just join Artist Collective for free, artistcollect.com/industry chat. We do these pretty much every week. This is our first one where we do 7 days in a row, and it's been really fun. It's caused me to have a lot of attention on this, which is awesome. But if you like things like this, we do them every week, usually one-on-one chats, walkthroughs, strategies, just about how to build, a career in the music industry. And we still have a couple more days left of this series. Tomorrow is day 6, like I said before, about hospitality, talking with an entertainment lawyer. So if you have any lawyery type of questions, he is great. He will answer all of them. So please join in. But we're just going to kind of talk about, the unemployment stuff and what you can do to get some more support as we get more information. But
Can you ask the lawyer a question for me?
Sure.
I want to know if any record companies are doing deals right now and publishing companies.
Let me write it down. Cool. I will get back to you on that. If they're doing deals as in...
Is anyone kind of how we've all kind of stopped how we look at most of what we're doing? And it's just something that I've been curious about. Because I have a band, an artist that I need to shop right now. And I'm kind of just do I even bother? Are A&R people signing acts? Do they have budgets to sign acts at this very moment? Or is everything on lockdown like most other businesses?
Right.
You know what? Just on a side note, I was asked by a friend who runs a record label in LA for a list of bands, 2 days ago. So, some people are still going.
Yeah.
For sure. I will ask him that and get back to you. I'm now interested as well. But cool, guys. Let me bring your faces up here again, minus Rick. I really appreciate you guys' time. That's all I had for you. So I hope you guys have a good day and
Appreciate you having us.
Stay connected.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys. Take care and stay healthy.
Thanks. And connect to me on LinkedIn and at ForceMM on Twitter.
Okay, cool. Will do. See you guys. Have a great day.
Love it. Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.